Internet friends, I do apologise in advance if I spontaneously catch on fire. It's 29 degrees C outside, 20, 30, 34, 35 degrees centigrade, this many Fahrenheit, upstairs in the new studio space. Far, far too hot to film, so I'm filming down here in my new living room. It feels good to be back. It's been a year, it's been a long, strange year. A story I do want to tell properly, so I'll save that for another video. It's a good one. Today, why I sold everything, why I sold all of this stuff, tens and tens of thousands of pounds worth of studio gear. I sold it too, it's gone. Yep, it's not clickbait, it's all gone. All of it sold, gone, everything, completely sold. And now I have a blank canvas, a new studio space. It's an English cottage, a little hobbit house almost. The walls are wonky, there's stone and brick and beams. It's lovely, it's delightful, I like it. I just love the naturey, textured vibe of the stone and the wood. It's very me. Every single bit of gear you see here is gone now. Why? It's been a reflective year for most of us, all of us, pretty much all of us. It's been weird. It's been a reflective year, and I was thinking, what's the best stuff I do? My best sounds, tutorials, ideas, videos, and visual things. Of all the best stuff I do, what's contributed to that? And to be honest, almost none of this contributed to it. As much as I like all this stuff, at least initially, and as much as it looks cool in videos and sort of looks like I use it, I work almost entirely in the box. My best ideas, my best sounds, my best video creations, it's a digital thing. Analog gear is super fun. I mean, genuinely, as I explained in the video why analog sucks, or I can't remember the title, I explained that analog gear, all these buttons and twisty bits and sort of real electronic, physical, tactile stuff is good. It's fun. It's fun to touch stuff and twist things and plug things in and press buttons and make this box do a thing. It's enjoyable. However, my best sounds just never came from it. I've got whole categories of sounds that I think no one else has ever made. Here on multiplier.audio, for example, I've created all these, what I think are pretty unique and interesting sounds. And all of this came from digital workflows, digital processes, plugins, and interesting manipulations. In the computer, almost none of it came from these analog boxes. And half of it broke. It's analog, and analog stuff breaks, and that's fun. And equivalently with MIDI controllers, I mean, again, they're great, and I've done some cool videos. I have all these different MIDI input devices, from a keyboard to a push to a MIDI Fighter 3D to even this Rolly C board. Lots of interesting ways to create and input MIDI, but I mean, how often did those input devices really create my best melodies and songs? Almost never. The push, yes, definitely, with those scales you can choose, was amazing. Initially, I mean, Hungarian minor, major pentatonic, those scales and the ability for me to therefore use those scales in this visual way was incredible. Absolutely mind-blowing, and allowed me to make things, melodies that I couldn't have made in any other way. However, I'm done with that now. I've gone through all the scales and picked my favourites. I know my favourite scales on the push. And on the S-Series keyboard with those different chord set modes, I know my favourites. And I've gone through the creative motions of writing the melodies I like, using those scales. But now it's on to something new. I need to create something new. If we define creativity as creating something new, I almost by definition need to force myself to work in a new way. I need to work in a new way. And all this stuff, all these different devices sort of boxes you in a corner, almost. I mean, not initially. When you first get all this stuff, it's great. You're excited, and all these different things you can do, all these different workflows and ideas you can construct that you couldn't before. But then, there's a car outside, it's unusual here. But then, as time evolves, you exhaust all the options. Not all the options, but you exhaust all the different categories of options. It's a very limited set of ways you can work. There's only so many different ways you can wire all these boxes together. Now, this may sound strange, but I'm more creatively interested by a blank canvas, a fresh start, a clean, empty workspace than all of this stuff. This table, bad, complicated, sort of stressful. This table, good, empty, clean, I like it. And it's not that at any one moment in time it was the wrong or a bad decision to get this stuff. It's just I ended up at a point where it wasn't right for me. I mean, it was honestly getting in the way, and emotionally, artistically, intellectually, sort of funneling me down the same little creative roots over and over again. And the things we surround ourselves with, the tools we use, the things we touch, the things we see, these affect the creative decisions we make and therefore our creative output. As much as intellectually I like the idea that our creative output's just a function of what's in our brain, it's just not the case. The things we look at, the things we touch, the stuff around us affects the decisions we make. And I just sort of, I feel like I used all this stuff and got what I wanted out of it, and it's time for a fresh start. It's time for a fresh start. New computer, new camera, new microphones, new stuff, new room, new home. I mean, it's been pretty much 10 years now. I've gone through all these different studio spaces. I started here in my parents' house in my bedroom. I mean, you can literally see the bed here. I got a keyboard and an APC-40 and then a push and monitors and stuff. Bits and bobs over time. I mean, I tried to make it feel a bit like a studio with the desk in the centre of the room and music stuff everywhere. But I mean, it was still a bedroom. There's a periodic table on the wall. That's not very musical. And a lady. Great. And then I moved on to this place. A one-bed flat by myself. And this was the living room, as you can see. The room I live in. But as my life was music, I made it almost entirely a music studio. Such that when I was looking forward, all I saw was music stuff. And I started to pick things up. A Mark 1 S-Series keyboard for a tutorial course on Groove 3. And a few bits and bobs. But then things really started to pick up here in the Cotswolds, where I had a whole room. In fact, I had a whole 3-bed house to myself, but I had a whole room just dedicated to music. And it was marvellous. I mean, this really felt like I had a studio all of a sudden. It was super inspiring, super motivating. I got way overexcited, as I mean, I'm sure you saw in those videos back then. Wagwan, Internet Mandem. It is Multiplier here for another studio vlog, where I buy a piece of very essential musical gear for the studio. And in this one, I bought a candle. Amazon. Look at it! It's a real live candle, and it's everything I hoped and dreamed it would be. I've seen many pictures of people's studios, but none of their studios have candles. Having stuff was great then. I got an analog drum machine and this Pioneer sampler, and a S-Series keyboard as well, I think, right at the end. And then this happened. Gear explosion! The room itself wasn't that nice here. I mean, it had a nice big window and a nice view out the window. Ooh, that was a lovely-ish view into my front garden. On topic though, there was all this stuff. Lots and lots of MIDI keyboards, lots of far too many sound cards actually. Bits I used, bits I pretty much never used. More analog gear and just stuff, which I mean, again, when you first get it, is great. Really good times initially. It was just, I mean, especially this layout, the initial layout. The initial layout, this was just, it was just all boxed in. I mean, I did a video about it at the time because it was all plugged in and plugged in a way that I couldn't easily manipulate and change. Because it was all plugged in, I was just making the same things over and over again and getting creatively and emotionally uninspired. And then I changed it. I put it all on this gear wall here, leaving me an empty desk, as you can see. An empty desk that I can then bring stuff over to. This was better, a step in the right direction. But I mean, it's just, as good as that was, as good as having a nice clean empty desk was and having gear to hand was, it was too much stuff. Chaos, I didn't like the chaos. Too much chaos. So, time to get rid of it. Also, I get to buy new stuff. Again, this shouldn't be discounted. If you sell all your stuff, you get to buy new stuff, and buying new stuff's fun. Thinking about music gear, buying music gear, setting it up, using it for the first time is enjoyable. It's enjoyable, it's creatively, artistically, emotionally exciting. It is also the case that, to be completely honest, I've evolved as a human. Humans change. I mean, it's been 9-10 years since I first acquired some of this stuff. What I need now is just fundamentally different to what I needed as a 22-year-old. I'm 30 now. I just don't need some of this stuff anymore. I don't need DJ gear. I'm not a DJ. I'm not a touring professional DJ anymore. I'm a content creator, a sound designer, a YouTuber, a tutorial content creator. In case you're wondering, here are my income streams. I'm more about the creative process than I am pressing buttons and fist pumping. It's fun though. I mean, it is very fun. It's just not me as a 30-year-old. I kept it because I thought I might use it again, and also it's a good prop. It's good to talk about, as you saw in videos. This will sound bad and it's ridiculous, but it's the world we live in. People probably do believe me more if I have gear in the background. You really shouldn't. I'm sure you've seen on YouTube, if you watch other YouTubers, lots of them have gear, but we all say different things. Maybe all things being equal, it's a better filter than not if you're trying to evaluate the opinion of two different people. But I mean, the thing I strive for is I really hope you believe what I say because I prove what I recommend. If I recommend to true peak limit or to set loudness at -11 LUFS, if I make a recommendation, I really hope you believe it because I prove it rigorously, or at least semi-rigorously. I hope that I demonstrate what I believe to be true is true. You could definitely make the argument that it's better for my YouTube career to keep all this gear. I could have it as a nice prop and make it look cool, and that'd be fun. But it's just not in the spirit of my scientific mindset that I tried to push. It's a plea to authority, which I just don't think you should believe. If I say do this or do that, test it for yourself. If you can't test it for yourself, don't do it. If someone recommends something and they don't prove it, and there's no way to really test what they're saying, ignore it. Don't do it just because there's some gear in the background, some fancy expensive synthesizer, unless they're talking about the specific synth. If they're talking about some analog synth and how it works and maybe why they like one over another, then fine, yes, there is some value to seeking the wisdom of people that have lots of stuff. But yeah, I mean, you could also make the argument that by throwing it up in B-roll, I sort of prove my authority, as much as I wish that wasn't a thing. Broken also doesn't work. It's a simple reason. Quite a few of these bits I got sent for free, and to be honest, I probably wouldn't choose them. They were great to have and I learned a lot and created some cool things with them, but if I was choosing them from scratch, if I was spending my own money on stuff, I wouldn't choose it all. I don't know, maybe 20% to 30% I would choose if I was buying myself. You may wonder why you never saw a video. Ooh, it's a tractor! You may wonder why I haven't done a video on this, the Rolly Seaboard. A story for another day. For the next 2 or 3 months or so, I'll do studio setup tutorials, studio setup tutorials, studio setup tutorials, and so on. As long-time viewers of the channel will know, I absolutely love the process of setting up a studio space, how I set it up like I do, why I set it up like I do, why I put my desk here, why I choose that, why I choose this, why I put that there, why I plug this into that, how I optimize the space for both creativity and productivity. I find that stuff just super interesting, so I'll mix those in with tutorials. It was only going to be a 2, maybe 3 month break initially as I was moving home, but it turned into a year. Bingo. No, I won't do it. Spend most of my life trying to be funny. Yeah, no, this isn't a good look. I shan't do this. There are 4 or 5 spots where I have to duck under beams to get around this house, and it's not even a very big house, so that's quite a lot of spots. I moved in 3 days ago, so this isn't finished, by the way. If you saw the kitchen, it's a bomb site. I can barely get in. Should probably do some unpacking. See you in the next one.